when I help somebody achieve their goal, then they're gonna think that I hung the moon. They're gonna refer business to me, and the money will come. The money is the byproduct of what I get to do.
Hey, you're going to love this episode. You know, we had John Ray Perkins on about 2 years ago when we first started a podcast. Now that we're into a new year, I wanted to invite him back so he could share with us some of the lessons he's learned along the way. And man, I'm going to tell you what, he delivered. I want you to pay attention to some of how he's taken the lessons he's learned and really gotten into action. He's also shared a lot of great stories, and you're going to hear those. Here's John Ray's episode.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. The very first guest of 2026.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Dude, tell us what you've been up to since the last time we visited.
Ooh, where do we begin, Jeff? We're still selling real estate.
Yep.
We had an incredible year last year. Probably, headlines everywhere. People look at me as I walk around going, man, how's business? And they say it like very delicately.
Yeah.
Expecting like
a question.
I mean, because the headlines nationally tell you it's the worst real estate market in 30 years. And nationally, that's probably a very factual statement. But as I'm sure you know, just because you live in Lafayette and you are friends with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, and we live in a bubble here, kind of.
Yeah, we do.
And our market actually did very well last year. In fact, I had my best year ever last year.
Really?
Yeah. So starting year 7 last September, September is kind of my anniversary and getting into the real estate. It was an incredible year professionally. It was a challenging year personally. My wife had she was diagnosed with breast cancer in October of 2024.
Yeah.
But God is really good. Can we
Let's
go
go.
on that? Yeah.
Let's go.
In August of 24, I broke my leg.
Yeah, I remember that.
If you remember. Yeah. I was riding an electric scooter in Austin on the way back to my Airbnb at a work conference. It was almost midnight. Hindsight, I probably should have gotten in the Uber with everybody else. I was coming up to an intersection, looked down at my phone, using Apple Maps to see if I needed to turn, and lost the scooter and went to pick it up and learned that I couldn't walk. And fortunately, my friends were right around the corner. They picked me up in their Uber, brought me to the hospital, broke my tibial plateau off. But I remember it's about midnight when I called and woke Alicia up to say, hey, I think I broke my leg. And then we kind of went into crisis mode when I got back, right? I had to have surgery. It took a little while to get in to see an orthopedic. We kind of played the system a little bit. I went in complaining about pain at the urgent care, and I had surgery on a Thursday, and I had surgery the following Monday. Nobody wanted to see me for months, but when they saw how bad it was broken, they got me in.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alicia goes into crisis mode. She misses her mammogram. And in October, by the time I'm driving again, she calls me one afternoon and says, hey, can you pick up the kids? I missed my mammogram in August. Can we get in? And there was a suspicious area. It was not the first time that we had a suspicious area. And anyway, short of the long, we caught it at stage 0.
Oh, yeah.
And a friend of ours who is her oncologist told me, he was like, John Ray, if she would have gone in August, they wouldn't have caught it.
And so it's just amazing.
Somebody said, my cousin in Houston, because we were planning a trip to Ireland and my cousin's a travel agent. And she said, John Ray, I said, I think God pushed me. I think Jesus pushed me off the scooter. She said, oh no, he didn't push you. He shoved you aggressively and violently to make sure he just looks out for us, even in those dark moments. And so she had a series of surgeries last year. Of course, she elected to do a bilateral mastectomy, and hindsight, it's 2020. They sent everything off to pathology, and there was 2 other precancerous areas that probably would have taken another decade to develop.
Yeah.
But fortunately she made that decision, and we got rid of all of that. And statistically speaking, the odds are now in her favor to not get it again. So it was a challenging year personally, but a very rewarding year personally as well.
Yeah, true blessings. And I love that you understand that you can look at that as a blessing and as God's hands.
It's really cool to hear my kids talk about it as a blessing. Like it's cool that we can sit and identify where God's working.
Yeah.
It's really cool when you hear a 17-year-old tell his buddies, like, hey, my mom beat cancer and she did it because God is always planning for us. You know?
And
now,
he
don't get
helped
me
my
wrong, my
dad
17's not perfect. He's dumb. He's a 17-year-old.
We've both been dumb 17-year-olds.
Not me. Never.
Oh, really? I'm kind of wondering, like, what made you get on a scooter anyway? I mean,
man, if you go to Austin, like they're easier to jump on than to call an Uber because they're everywhere in the downtown area. My kids laughed at me because, oh, Dad, what do you mean you broke your leg on a scooter? So then I had to do some research and back up statistically that 72,000 scooter injuries on electric scooters happen every year in the U.S.
Oh, my goodness.
Or some crazy number like that. I had to define the stat to tell my kids.
Yeah, because the people renting them are our age, you know, or maybe a little bit less, but and I'm not your age, trust me.
Yeah.
But I've been on one, you know, and they're a blast.
They're fun.
But the kids that aren't renting them, they probably own them or have something else.
That's right.
You know.
Well, when I went into the hospital, there wasn't a hospital staff person that asked what happened. Every single one of them said scooter accident. And the two that were taking care of me as we were waiting for radiology, is that what comes in to take x-rays? For radiology to get in there, literally told me what I broke before they x-rayed it. So like, it's a thing that happens, you know. I have a plate and 8 screws now holding my tibial plateau together. I don't know that I'll ever get on a scooter. I'm not saying I won't. There was a time that was a hard no. Yeah. There's still probably a no there though. Yeah. It makes me nervous when I see people on them.
That is crazy. That is crazy. So challenging but rewarding year personally and your best year yet professionally.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get back to that because I want to know, like, what's the difference? I understand that the market here locally is we're in a bubble and things are a little bit different, but what's different about how you practice and how you've grown pretty consistently every year, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I think the longer you stay in real estate, the more people know that you're in real estate, right? So I think there's a natural growth to who you know that knows that you're in real estate and then chooses to do business with you, right? I think that's true. I think the way that you take care of people is a huge part of it. And then if you want to get into the sales side of things, like the fact that I have a notebook that I put names in when somebody says, you know, hey, my nephew has a real estate need, you should call him. And I write that person's name down, who referred them to me, what the nephew's name is, and the phone number. You know, like this morning, it's January 5th. I worked over the last 2 weeks of the holidays. Like Christmas Eve was probably the busiest day of my life as I cooked a gumbo for 50 of our family members.
Goodness.
Like I didn't get off of the phone. But I tried to be more present the last 2 weeks and not really pay attention to the things that I didn't need to pay attention to. We had transactions in the pipelines and deadlines we had to meet, but I really wanted to be present. And I think I did. You would have to ask Alicia, but I think I did a good job at being more present. But today I sat down with my notebook and I rewrote that page. I cleaned up, oh, these people are now under contract and these people, oh, wait, I forgot. I need to follow up with this. And so it's remembering who do I need to talk to that it's already raised their hand in my world. Right?
Yeah, sure.
And coming from 20 years of ministry, there's a lot of people in my world that
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
And then, you and I were talking before, I had for the last, I want to say 3+ years. So in January of 21, I got my first coach because I felt the market. Or maybe it was January. Yeah, I believe it was January of 21. I got my first coach. December of 20, I kind of felt the market shifting already. Things were different. The phone wasn't ringing as much as it was. So I got a coach. I coached with that person for about 6 months. That person I credit for helping me see that I could think bigger than I ever thought that I could think. Alicia stepped out of the classroom that year. Yep. And then I took about 6 months off of coaching, and in December of 21, I contacted Mike Vitsta, who was part of Keller Williams Maps at the time. and Mike and I started coaching in January of 22, and we were together through November of last year. And I mean, in fact, Mike was more than just a productivity coach for me. You know, he helped me financially kind of wrap my head around. I'm not great when it comes to numbers and math. I'm from St. Landry Parish, and all, you know, but he helped me with that. But man, I went through some difficult moments with my now 17-year-old. And Mike coached me through being a dad.
Wow.
Mike was the very first phone call I made when Alicia was diagnosed with cancer. At that time, Mike and I were planning for this Ireland trip that I mentioned, right?
Yeah.
And we you'll love this story. We were looking at, one day I just sarcastically made a off the cuff comment and just said, well, I don't know, Mike, what would it be like to just take next summer off, you know? And he said, okay, open up your calendar. Let's take next summer off. And so he had me open up my Google Calendar, create a calendar that said summer of 2025. And he said, okay, if you're going to take it off, what are you going to do? And so like we planned out some vacations and blocked off some times. And I think we did about 6 weeks. And he said, now go home tonight and talk to Alicia about it.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I was like anxious about this idea, and Mike committed me. Like, he made me commit to doing this. Like, I have a second phone number now and got a second phone because Alicia and I were going to go out of the country, and like I wasn't going to be bothered with business stuff, right?
Yeah, correct.
And so but in order to do that, we had to figure out what do we need for that summer, like how much financially did we need, and then how much financially did we need in addition to that to just run our lives. And then we started backwards planning that, you know, and we were in like June or July of 24, and then Alicia gets diagnosed. I break my leg, and we took the play and we just backed it up.
Yeah,
right.
That's
we were
exactly
like, okay,
right.
I broke my leg. Now I'm in a bed. Like, let's run the play now. You know. But so Mike has been huge. But last year, man, he was just so intentional as a coach of helping me constantly stay focused on what was important.
Yeah.
You know, and I think in order to have the best year that I've ever had in my business, I have to give credit to my coach. Like, he helped me constantly look at what do we have going on? What do we have, you know, currently pending? Where's the next one coming from? You know, for me, it's easy to roll into the first of the year with a lot of pendings. I think I do that consistently every year, but then I'll drop off in the summer. So when I went home that night to talk to Alicia about the summer of 2025, she said, oh, so you're going to take off during your slowest time of the year? And it was all about perspective for me, right? And it's true. Like, I usually slow down in the summer, and you can watch it as you look at my annual sales. June, July are pretty strong, but August and September are always probably the worst months of the year ever. And I think it's because my kids are at home.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm ADHD, so I just want to spend time with them, and I forget that I'm supposed to actually be working too, you know?
But seasonally, as far as the industry goes, it's not a slow time. It's just your slowest time?
It's my slowest time. Yeah.
Okay.
I think everybody's different. Like, I think you hear agents say that, you know, like the holiday season is the slowest time of the year, right?
Yeah.
I think I saw a video last night of an agent in our market saying that, you know, last week was dead week for real estate, right? But when I look at, I like to watch, I don't know if you follow me on social media, but in my stories, I have a board in my office that is a dry erase board. It has my pendings. I'll erase my pendings, and I'll put the new one, whether it's going up or down, you know. And what I noticed over the last few weeks, because I watch my memories, what I noticed over the last few weeks is that pretty consistently over the last 3 years, the holiday season tends to be a time that I put up a whole lot of pendings, you know. So I usually roll into the new year pretty heavy, you know, in the pipeline. And so
correct.
In this growth mindset, I'm talking to an agent right now, and she was like, yeah, well, so you come into the first of the year pretty heavy, and then you feel like you can slack off. And that's probably true too.
Yeah,
you know?
Subconsciously it might be a little.
Mike last year helped me keep my foot on the gas, even in the midst of everything going on.
Yeah.
You know, I had to take a lot of time off last year to be present. Alicia had 3 surgeries, you know? And so he helped me make sure that there was always somebody backing me up when I was unavailable. You know, so January 13th of last year, she had surgery, her first surgery. and was out for almost 6 weeks. And I was present for at least 4 of those weeks, like I didn't have my phone. My assistant had my phone. Like, we had agents that we knew could back me up. And I remember talking to an agent who's been in the business for a while, but her goals are different. Like she doesn't do a whole lot of business every year. And she said, wow, I've never been so busy in my entire life. And it was like day 2 post-op for Alicia. And I was like, are you okay? Do I need to find? No, she's like, I'm loving it,
Yeah.
And so, you give people opportunities and if they have it, they step up,
You give the right people the opportunities.
But I think accountability, if I had to wrap it up in one word, it was the fact that I had somebody holding me accountable
and accountability
to the outcome and to the goals.
Yeah. So you said so much there. I got to give a little light bulb moment. One, you have a coach you trusted, you listened to, and he guided you. But the other really, to me, is that vacation test. I love that. And that's what I challenge some of my clients to is, can you take a 4-week vacation? And if the answer is no, then we got a lot of work to do. Processes, systems, people. And what I heard you say is that you had an assistant. And last time I talked to you, I think Alicia was the only one working with you. And so you're growing your company.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about some of the changes structurally in your group and how you're doing it.
So probably since you and I have talked, I've gone through a couple of iterations, right?
Yep.
From day one, I've always had what we call in the industry a transaction coordinator. That person takes care of their primary focus is from contract to close. So when I put a buyer under contract, when I put a seller under contract, the transaction coordinator, we call him a TC. The TC is going to take me paperwork wise and deadline wise, because there's a lot of deadlines in a contract that we have to meet. We have our inspection deadline and our appraisal deadline and our response times and all of that. And so for a while when I was first in the business, my buyers I leveraged out to a TC, but my sellers, because there's not as much paperwork with a seller as there is with a buyer.
Yeah.
My sellers I kept and I did it all internally. What I have learned is that paperwork is not, it is a huge part of my business, but it is not my gift and talent.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
This is my gift and talent. Let's talk to people. Let's build relationships. Let's figure out how we can help each other, whether it's in real estate or not. Paperwork is not the thing that I thrive on. Yeah. So I quickly also then leveraged out the paperwork side for the sellers as well. And so from contract to close, I've learned that if I touch the paperwork, I'm bound to mess something up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it.
And that's a huge realization.
Oh, yeah. I remember sending an offer that I wrote to a top producing agent here in the market when I was not a top producing agent. And he called me up and he said, "Man, you fast." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you closed it out today. Like I sent the offer today and put the close date today." And I was so embarrassed. I was like, "I am so sorry. Look, I'll redo it. I'll send it." He said, No, don't worry about it. We'll just correct it when we respond to y'all. And I was like, "Thank you for your grace."
So, no doubt about it.
In that moment, I learned if you're going to be a top producing agent, you show grace to the agent on the other side, because we're bound to mess up on something. But so I've always had a TC. At some point, I hired a full-time administrative assistant, executive assistant. They did some real estate stuff, but they were really focused on making sure my calendar was good, that my inbox was good. Like they were scheduling my hair appointments, scheduling.
Yeah, I was going to ask, personal and professional.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
At that time, I also had a virtual assistant. A Keller Williams agent started a company called Cyberbacker, and contracted with people in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And so I had a virtual assistant for a year and an executive assistant in that same time frame for about 6 months. It was a huge learning experience for me. I learned that I don't delegate and communicate well. I don't manage well. I get bored real easy. Like, I'm going to tell you how to do something. I'll show you how to do something, and then I expect you to do it, and I'm not going to follow up with it. I also learned that pretty quickly I paid my in-person assistant way too much money way too quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I also learn. There's a saying in KW, and it's probably in the business world. You inspect what you expect.
Yep.
I learned that I need to do that, right? And the person that I hired in that 6-month time frame, we're still good friends. She was probably one of my best clients. I've been knowing her since I did a confirmation retreat when she was a sophomore. I just put her in an impossible position for who she was.
Sure.
And I recognized that, I think, early on. And I think that she would probably tell you that she recognized it early on. But there was something in my head that if we parted ways, I was going backwards, and I didn't want to do
No,
it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you were excited. You were excited about having a full-time executive assistant, so you don't want to mess that up.
Exactly. Her and I had made the decision to part ways with the virtual assistant before her and I made the decision to part ways together. So we had already given our contract notification to the virtual assistant probably 3 months before. And it was June of 23. I'm making up dates right now. Maybe June of 22 that I looked at her and said, I had already felt that there was something off. But at that time, the pipeline was dwindling. It was summertime. Right?
Yeah.
And I said, hey, look, I know that I have enough to keep you employed until June. We'll have to look at the pipeline at the end of June to see what July and August look like, which is just kind of the reality of a sales business, right? And the next day I walked in and I had a 2-week notice on my desk, right? And at first it was crushing. And in hindsight, it was such a learning opportunity, At that point, I pulled everything back in except for my transaction work. I parted ways with my virtual assistant. I parted ways with her a couple of weeks before the virtual assistant. It took me about probably, 3 or 4 months to recover. One of my nieces, quote unquote, one of my best friends from high school's daughters. She calls me Uncle John Ray. My kids call her dad Uncle. We're not blood related. My little kids struggle with that. Like, what do you mean he's not my uncle?
I have cousins or people that I thought were my cousins from this high up. I'm still this high.
It's South Louisiana. It's just what we do.
It's just, I had no idea we were related. But
so she had graduated high school, and I looked at her. Alicia needed some help. Running kids around. We have 4 kids. She was one person. I run a pretty high business, right? I help where I can in the evenings, but there's sometimes I have appointments and I just can't. So Alicia needed somebody to help run the little kids around. As our big kids got older, they got more involved in extracurriculars, but the little kids still had like tutoring and to go to bed at a decent time. And so there was an opportunity to help Alicia out, and I had a void in my business. So I hired her name's Abigail. I hired Abby on an hourly rate with a guaranteed minimum amount of hours. I learned.
You sure did.
And so Abby and I have been together since that day. She's still part-time. She still helps in the evenings and on weekends with the kids. There are so many things that I don't even have to think about anymore. She harvests the data every week from our MLS, from our multiple listing service. So she looks at what sold last week, what sold last month, what went under contract last week, what went under, so she's looking at the market and she keeps a spreadsheet. I mean, there's a ton of other things, but that in itself is just I'm a data guy. But if I take time to look at the data, my ADHD is going to kick in, and I'm just going to look at it and I'm going to perfect it and I'm going to want to know more. So I created a spreadsheet template and a video and said, hey, I just need you to go do this. Today I still have a transaction coordinator who operates on a higher level. She also inputs all of my listings. She sends out a weekly email to my sellers, so she does listing management. She does transactions. She's linking in with some of the communications with title attorneys and with our clients during the transaction, or even pre-transaction. She's helping if I can't go show a house, I don't have agents on my team yet. She'll make sure that we find an agent that can go open the door. She's putting us all in a group message, so I have a contract assistant and a transaction coordinator, and then a part-time college student. Abby's been fun too, because she wants to do CPA work. And so we've leveraged out a little bit of our QuickBooks to her, and I have her linked in with my CPA and kind of trying to help her grow into that as well.
That. That's all, and that's true leadership. You know what I mean? It's just helping them become who they need to become.
Yeah,
and even if they're raising their own value, but shoot, you may walk away one day, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But and what I'm hearing is you have the systems and processes in place to really scale if that's what you choose to do.
Yes.
And so,
that was something that was really helpful for my coach, so like as we started handing off things that I could do, but it's not my gift. Right.
Yeah.
To Abby, what I learned from my VA and my previous assistant was, hey, let me shoot a video. So now I have a Google Drive where, all those tasks that are repeatable tasks, I showed her how to do them. And while I was showing her how to do them, I videoed them and we archived them in a Google Drive. I think that there's, those Monday data sheets. I think it's been a year, 2 years that she's been doing that. I think she still goes watch the video from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and you learn and you see.
But I don't have to manage that.
That's right.
I just all I have to do is log into the spreadsheet twice a week and look at it.
That's right.
And so that was huge. And then the other thing that Mike taught me was I don't have to come up with the operating procedures. I don't have to document the operating procedures. Abby has Google Docs that everything that she does, she has a Google Doc around, right?
Yeah.
We're actually starting to load those into chat so that when she does graduate and goes off to be an accountant, then I can have chat just spit out those SOPs for me,
that's right.
To give to the next person.
That's right. And I wouldn't say, I would highly consider documenting those via video as well, if you can.
Oh yeah. That's a great idea.
I mean, just why not? But so the next one coming in can just take it and run with them and watch those over and over again.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So yeah, it does sound like you've learned over the years a lot of lessons. I love hearing that because too many of us don't.
Sure.
You're taking action and you really are set for the future. So like, what is the future? I mean, do you have a big vision or are you just seeing what happens?
No, I mean, yeah, I have a few long-term goals and some immediate ones that are coming in. So 2025, I had a goal of onboarding my first agent, right? I have this vision of having what I'm calling at this time the John Ray Group, building out a real estate team with agents. In ministry, I ministered to people like we would have 100 teenagers that came to a youth night. Well, one person is incapable of ministering to that many people. No doubt. I would have anywhere between 15 and 25 volunteers, some behind the scenes, some hands-on in small groups that were extensions of who I was, and then would keep me apprised with what was going on with the young people in their charge.
Sure.
My vision is how do we recreate that in a sales role, right? Because Jeff, I got a text yesterday from a client. She is under contract for a sub $100,000 house, right? When I first got into the business, a sub $100,000 house, depending on the area, like could have been a decent house. Today, that is a very challenging house.
Yeah.
Because appreciation and all of that, if you're still under $100,000. So, and she actually is approved to buy a much nicer house, but this is where she wanted to stay. So we talked about all of that and we went and found the house, right? Mm-hmm. We talked about, hey, you're going to have projects and you're going to have a to-do list a mile long. And she's excited about that portion of it, right? Well, when we got into the inspection of the house, now all of a sudden we need a new roof.
Ooh.
We possibly need an air conditioner, right? There's some broken windows that have to be replaced for a loan type. Like there was a laundry list of things that we ended up having to ask the seller to remedy. And in a sub $100,000 house, how much meat's on the bone?
Yeah, that's right.
So we got the response back from the seller yesterday saying that they were going to fix everything. And I texted her the response and I said, hey, they said that they were going to fix everything. And her response back was, I think you're going to make me cry.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Yeah.
That is what I love about what I get to do. right?
Yeah.
It's the moments like that. It's a couple of years ago, I had a old gruffy guy. I think he would appreciate me calling him that if he's listening. He's just an old country boy, right? Moved out of state, was referred to me. He's actually from my hometown, but was referred to me by an agent out of state. We had 5 properties to sell that, were family properties. His.
Okay.
But all, or it might have been 6. I think there were 3 plats of land, a camp, and 2 houses, but all like not in great condition, right? And he told me over and over in the transaction, like, man, I wish I had something. I wish I had a real nice place for you to sell, right? And we worked really hard and we got them all sold, but we sold his family camp. And at closing, he owed the buyer a check for the septic system because the septic system had to be replaced, and we negotiated that. And he went to hand the check to his buyer. Now, his buyer was like a kid the night before Christmas. This was their dream. They saved all their pennies and nickels to buy this camp. Like, the camp needed a lot of work, but they were super excited, right? And he went to hand the check, and the buyer went to grab it, and he pulled his hand back, and he choked up.
Yeah.
And he said, I used to celebrate all my family holidays as a kid at this camp. He said, the only thing that I ask is from time to time I come back into town, could I call you and come by one day to see what you've done with the place?
Yeah.
And they agreed, and he handed the check, and they were excited and he was sad. And it was in that moment that I realized what a privilege it is to do what I do, because I get to watch one journey end and a completely new one begin. Right.
No doubt about it.
And so,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's
like
huge.
it, I don't even remember how we got onto that tangent or what we were talking about.
It's not always about, let's just say it, the money, right?
Yeah.
It's, in your world, you're still ministering as well.
That's right.
But what you said about one journey ending and one journey starting, that's huge.
It is. And I try to stay focused on that.
It's not just transactional.
No.
It's a transaction, but it's so much more than that. And the fact that you realize it, that's why so many people work with you.
Yeah. Well, when it becomes transactional, right? Yeah. I can remember the one that was transactional, and guess what? I got fired, right? And it was very early on, right?
Yeah.
But you've heard about people talk about salespeople. We're not going to even say real estate, salespeople who they never want to work with again, right? It's because it was transactional. They didn't help that person achieve their goal.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
When I help someone, when I help somebody achieve their goal, then they're gonna think that I hung the moon. They're gonna refer business to me, and the money will come. The money is the byproduct of what I get to do. You know?
Yeah, sure.
And so, how do I create that team that ministers to people the way that we minister to people in ministry? Like that's my vision. And so, where do I go from here? I want to see the John Ray Group become a thing that helps take care of people. Or whatever we end up calling it. Right now, it's
yeah. And that's a great name. But I love that. I love that mission. And if there's anything I know about you, you'll accomplish the mission.
Well, we'll see. I think I'm excited about 2026. I'm in conversations with several agents right now, and the first person that I'm talking with is the person that's going to help me coach and manage and do all of that, because I know that I'm going to get bored, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I'm going to help you when you need help, but I may leave you to go do this other thing for a while. And so I need somebody that complements me in that area. And I'm hoping that I found that person. So we'll see.
Yeah. Good luck on that. So, I know why you got into real estate. Everybody kind of is hearing why you got into real estate, truly, but how has it changed your life? And I just kind of want to hear, like, John Ray and his family in the future, you're doing this for them, and as well as your clients and their dreams and goals. How has it really and truly impacted you and your lifestyle?
So if you don't know, I got into real estate for my family. A life of ministry, married to a school teacher, is very fulfilling and rewarding. And it doesn't come with a whole lot of financial, I'm going to call it stability. You know, in ministry, there was never a moment where I wondered if we could pay a bill, but there were many moments that I looked back and wondered how those bills got paid, you know? And I think the hinge point for me was in 2016. I was at one of Dr. Bob Schutz's Healing the Whole Person retreat that was being hosted at Pius. I couldn't afford to go to that retreat. Have I ever shared this story with you? I don't think so.
No, never.
This is something that's kind of recently resurfaced in my life in conversations with my 17-year-old. I got a phone call when they were setting up. There was something AV that wasn't working, of course, and they needed me to figure it out. And so I ran over real quick, got it all working. And Dr. Bob looked at me and said, hey, look, if you want to pop into any of the sessions, you know, just feel free. Like you're welcome to do that. Like if anybody asks, just tell them I told. And I happened to pop into one that his brother was doing. Bart, I think is his name. And Bart talked about being the dad of no. And man, that hit a nerve that I didn't even know existed. And what he was saying was, you know, at that time, for whatever reason in his life, his kids would ask him for something that he had to tell them no because financially he couldn't provide it, right? And man, I just sat in the back of the room like weeping with that because like that was my life. Like my kids were 6 and 5 at the time. We had just had our third. And there were so many times that I wanted to give them something that we didn't have the ability to be able to give them, right? That's not why I got into real estate. I got into real estate because I didn't want to get out of ministry, but I needed to figure out how to pay for Catholic school tuition. So fast forward to 2019, my goal was to sell 10 houses a year. And in my mind, 10 houses a year, it was just going to pay for the 4 kids to be in Catholic school. Like, and I could continue to do ministry. I remember June of 2020, I brought my son to the pawn shop, my oldest, and I bought him a bicycle for his birthday. I think I spent $100, maybe. And maybe I took him to GameStop. So maybe between the bicycle and whatever was at GameStop, and I took him to Pop's Po' Boys for the first time. Like, so I think we spent $150. And I remember that afternoon, I was back at the office and I was looking at a friend of mine and I just started crying. And he was like, man, what's up? And I was like, dude, I just spent $150 on my kid for his birthday. And it's the first time that I've ever done that where I didn't worry about if we were going to need it tomorrow. You know, like it was just incredible. Fast forward to 5 weeks ago. I have a 17-year-old who doesn't always make the right decisions. And we were having a heart-to-heart conversation where I shared that story with him. You know, like even when my kids want to do something dumb, I still, because of who I am, want to say yes, right?
Yeah.
I say no because I know it's not right. And I know that they shouldn't do that. And I know that but it's still hard for me to say no to that. Right. And so what this life has provided me is the opportunity to never have to say no when it's something good that they want or something that I want to be able to provide. Right. Yeah. And within reason, of course, you know?
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And so that's what this has done for me, you know, like it's been incredible.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that with us because we all need to hear that. Those dads of yes sometimes are it's too many things. You know, we're giving them too many things. But what you specifically said, I want to be able to say yes to the things they really want, or I want to provide them.
That's right.
Dude,
not everything. Beautiful. I say no.
No, yeah.
So.
Well, I know, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us, and coming in today, man. This has been huge. What haven't I asked that you can share with us that our audience, you know, they're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, and they deserve the most amazing, peaceful life that entrepreneurship can bring them. What is a great tip that you would share?
Man, I think, what you said about vacations, right?
Yeah.
I think it's huge because as I live in the world of business owners and entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
My coach, Mike, told me a year and a half ago, he said, John Ray, you have a very high paying job, but you don't have a business, right?
Yeah.
I was an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
right? And in many ways, I still am an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I'm growing into becoming a business owner, right? And it's that shift of like, what are the things that you're doing right now that you can do, but that's not bringing business. It's not bringing money. It's not, it's not making an impact on the bottom line. And you could do more of the things that, impact the bottom line if you hired somebody or leveraged that out to a third party, or like, where can you find the time to be with your family, to carve it out to where, I went on a father-son retreat last April, and I handed my business phone to my assistant and said, you're not going to get in touch with me because I'm going to be in the mountains and I'm not going to have reception, right? And I think at midnight at night on the father-son retreat, I'd check my email just to see if there was something on fire,
Yeah.
But when I came back, guess what? Everything was fine. It was busy for a little bit, right? But everything had been taken care of because we had set up a system around it.
Yep.
And I am very much looking forward to this summer. Alicia and I are talking about going to Ireland because we didn't get to do that last year.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to, heck, I might not even bring my personal phone with me.
Yeah.
We have a good friend of mine who's a top producing agent in this market, and she went on a trip for 2 weeks with her husband out of country and didn't bring a phone at all with her. If there was something they needed to take pictures of, they took pictures with her spouse's phone,
Yeah.
And so like, I would encourage any entrepreneur, any business owner, like figure out where you have leverage or where you can find leverage in your life.
Yep.
Because we only get to live this life once.
Amen. Well said. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to Lead, Grow, Live. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll put in the show notes how you can reach John Ray Perkins. And if you're interested in working with him as a realtor, either way, buy or sell, he can handle what you're doing. Hey, if you or somebody you know would be a great guest on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. Please just reach out to me at jeff@companygrowthacademy.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.